Hi, if you're watching this video, then I know that you are a first-time mom trying to plan a true natural birth. And let's just get this clear that a true natural birth is the only real natural birth. Everything else is either an unmedicated birth in the medical system, which they're going to do interventions to you. It's going to be more painful. It's going to be more traumatic. It's going to be harder for you to get into your body. And those hypnobirthing classes that you take might help a little bit, but there's still going to be some fear and anxiety. And let me just be very, very clear. When you introduce any interventions into a physiological process, which birth is, this can lead to a cascade of complications and interventions that can lead to a C-section. So if you are looking for a true natural birth experience, then this is for you. The true natural birth experience is experiencing birth the way nature intended, which means you are tuning into your instincts and your body, and you are moving with your own natural hormonal process. This process is not what the textbooks say that labor is going to unfold like. This process is unique to you for your birth of this baby. And it will be different from anything else that anybody else will tell you about birth. One of the big mistakes that a first-time mom can make is asking other people what she can expect in her birth. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't even tell you that. I have had over 10 years of experience helping moms have true natural births and learning everything that I needed to learn in the medical system from doulas and midwives and nurses to tell me the different birth stories and how they unfold. All of these books behind me, I have a whole collection. There's even some ebooks that you can't see. And I have been basically consuming birth for years, decades. Even when I was a little girl, I would read about birth, although I was reading the wrong things. I'll get more into that in a minute. But first, I'm going to tell you a really scary statistic. And I don't want you to worry because I have the solution to it. Most first-time moms who go in and say that they want to have a natural birth end up getting talked out of it. Of those moms, the majority end up giving in and getting the epidural. A lot of them were induced. A lot of them started out saying, I don't want an induction, but then they go over their due date and they end up feeling the pressure to induce, and they do. Or they're scared out of it, or they don't even know that they can say no. A lot of first-time moms also don't know their rights. They don't know that every single test that is offered to them, they can decline it. And they don't feel confident in saying no. Now, if you happen to be stubborn like I was, you might be able to say no the first few times. You might be able to ask questions. But let me just tell you quickly, even though I consumed birth education for 9 months straight, and I was reading everything with a fine-tooth comb, and I had a psychology background, which allowed me to see the manipulation that was going on in the medical system when they kept telling me, your baby is too small, you have to have him in the hospital, you can't have a home birth. I could see it. And at the same time, I still ended up giving in. I still ended up giving up on my home birth. I went into the hospital. I thought that I would be able to have complete control, and I was taught differently. And I don't want that to happen to you, because even though I managed to have the natural birth and I was able to do it without any intervention, I still ended up having a traumatic birth experience because I wasn't able to follow my body's instincts. It was more painful at the end. I ended up pushing for 3 hours. I was afraid of being cut, and I was afraid of them calling a C-section. In the end, what I noticed is that even though I managed to get my baby out in time, and I barely tore it all, and it was like surface level, and I didn't need stitches, and I had a fast recovery, even with all of that, even though I bounced back quickly, my emotional recovery took a lot longer. My psychological recovery took a lot longer. It took years for me to heal the birth trauma because I was like, I should be happy right now. I got the baby out and I didn't have a C-section and I didn't have an episiotomy. Nobody gave me the epidural. I didn't have any needles. I didn't have the IV. Why am I not happy? And the reason, of course, was because my autonomy was stripped from me and I went against what I'd actually wanted. I was robbed of my birth experience. Again, I don't want that to happen to you. As a first-time mom, you have an opportunity to make sure that you never experience birth trauma. I'm going to be very, very clear about this. You can't do it with typical birth education. While typical birth education will prepare you in understanding how your body works, if you are following the right people, let me just be clear about that. You need the right education. It is not the only piece of the puzzle that you need to know. And that is what this video is going to teach you. Now, if you want to go deeper with this, I do have a book. It's called Your Empowered Birth. It's available on Amazon. I also have a website, empoweringmomsbirth.com, where you can get more information, more resources that will help you to have a true natural birth and avoid birth trauma. If you are already watching this and you are on the website, then let me just remind you again that in the starter guide, there is more tips on how to have a true natural birth as a first-time mom. Make sure you're taking advantage of those. I also have freebies on the website. Go and get as many of those PDF guides as you can possibly handle. Make sure you're following that because there are 21 things that you want to be avoiding to avoid a cesarean. The 21 cesarean traps, I call them. And there's natural birth traps. There's things you don't want to put in your natural birth plan. There's things you want to do. Even if you are planning a hospital birth, you need to know these steps. And they are versatile for whether you are a first-time mom, seasoned mom, or a VBAC mom. A lot of these tips do overlap. But as a first-time mom, the first thing you need to do is examine what you've already been taught about birth in your family. This is your first blueprint of how birth has been taught within your family dynamic. And this is your support system of who is going to be closest to you as you navigate your pregnancy. I call this the right support, and you need to have that. So here's the question I'm going to ask you. With your current family dynamic, has anyone in your family had a home birth? Has anyone in your family had a natural birth, a true natural birth? How many people in your family believe that to give birth, you need to be in the hospital with a doctor? How many people within your family dynamic think that the epidural is a lifesaver? How many people in your family dynamic had a C-section? How many people in your family dynamic had traumatic birth stories that they're probably trying to bombard you with to scare you and talk you out of your natural birth? Because the truth is that these stories at the surface level are your foundation. And if you have moms in your family dynamic, in your family tree, who have had C-sections and think that that was the only way that they could ever have their babies, or they were all induced, or they all went to the hospital, they all got the epidural, and you're trying to have a natural birth, you're going to have to seek out that right support, and you're going to have to put some boundaries in place with your family. You're going to have to do that now. Next question. Have you hired your care provider yet? If you have not hired your care provider yet, then you have an advantage already. That means you're at the very beginning of your pregnancy. You can go through my book, Your Empowered Birth, or get some of the resources off the website to ask the questions to figure out whether or not this care provider that you're thinking of hiring is going to support a true natural birth. Because the truth is that even if you ask your care provider, do you support natural birth? They may not be talking about true natural birth. They may not be talking about that. They may be talking about the heavily controlled birth that, as you're going to find out, is not natural birth at all and leads to the pain, the interventions, something going wrong, giving up, giving in, crumbling under the pressure, getting a C-section, getting an induction. So you need to be very clear if your care provider is on board or not. I call this the right facilitator. The next question I'm going to ask you is, what about your partner? What was their family like? Because if their family, if everybody had C-sections and everybody goes to the hospital, that is something you also need to address. And finally, the last question, what education have you already gathered up so far? What are you already seeking out? What are you looking at? Because you need to be very critical with your information. Because let me just tell you, if you're still feeling scared, if you're still feeling anxious about birth, you're not feeling confident that your body can do this, or you're doubting yourself, you're second guessing, you're like, I'm not sure if I want the epidural, and you're going into the mom groups and you're asking those questions like, can I actually do this? I have a low pain tolerance. Could I actually have a natural birth? You're looking for positive stories. This is an indicator that your right mindset is not in the right mindset, that you don't have that. You are stuck in fear. You need to get out of those fear traps before you can move forward and plan your empowered birth. Don't worry, I got you covered. I have fear traps videos and trainings. I have things on my website. I have things inside Your Empowered Birth. I have a program. It's called Your Empowered Birth Academy. You can always check that out as well. If you are currently on the starter guide right now and you're watching this on the starter guide, then I'm just going to remind you that in that starter guide, you are also able to find those resources. So within the starter guide, you will find those resources. Click on them, check them out. Wherever you are at, I want you to know you can have a natural birth, as natural as humanly possible, a true natural birth experience with your first baby. It doesn't have to be a trial run. In fact, treating this as your trial run to see if you can have a natural birth, or saying, oh, I'm only going to go to the hospital this time and I'll have a home birth next time. Let me just tell you, no, you don't want to do that. You want your true natural birth experience to be your first experience, because after that, if you have birth trauma, it's going to be much, much harder for you to get out of your fear and move forward. Take it from me. I wanted to have a home birth with my first. I got tricked out of it. And even though I had a home birth with my second, and I will never go into the hospital ever again unless there was a serious medical complication, like it would have to be one of my hard lines in the sand to go back. Well, it doesn't change the fact that my son was born in the hospital. There was that trauma. I will never get that experience and be able to do that over. I can never go back and birth him at home like I wanted. I got it with his sister, but not with him. And that is something I have to live with for the rest of my life. So let me just tell you, as a first-time mom, aim high in your birth vision. Aim high, go for your dream birth, get out of your fear, and recognize that maybe the support that you have right now isn't going to help you set those boundaries. And if you want to go deeper, go and get your empowered birth, or go check out the other resources at empoweringmomsbirth.com, because all of it is designed to help you, first-time mama. You deserve to have that beautiful experience. Like my t-shirt says, every birth can and should be a beautiful and empowering experience. And I'm committed to you having that. So thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this, make sure that you share this with other first-time moms who could use it. Make sure you pay it forward, because what I want to do is I want the power of empowered birth to be spread as wide as possible, because we all deserve this. I am here to make sure that every mom who wants a true natural birth gets a true natural birth, or closer to it than if they were following the typical advice that undermines their confidence and leads to birth trauma. Because birth trauma is not what happens in your birth. It's how you feel about it. And if you recognize at some point and you're aiming for true natural birth and it's not right for you anymore, you can go and change your plan and still feel really good about it and be like, you know what? I gave it my all. I was all in on this. I had to pivot. It's okay. I don't have any regrets and I can go forward and I can try again. That's what I want for you. So thank you so much for watching, and go check out Your Empowered Birth. Go check out my other resources. I'm here to support you. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. Either myself or one of my Empowered Mom ambassadors will help you. And happy empowered birth planning. I'll talk to you soon.